You're listening to
They're going to call it a hard foul. They're going to call it a hard foul.
All right, it's been a long time, but we are Hard Foul, brought to you by the what?
Fan First Sports Network, bitch.
And I'm Jim Quigley. This is Mike Quigley. We are bringing the podcast back. There was an extended pause, not for any real reason, just some professional stuff outside of podcasting that came up, as well as some just life got in the way of things. But we're back here, and Mike, it's good to be back.
It is. Yeah, this is a fun team. This has been a fun season. They've, I think, went above expectations from where we were at the beginning of the year talking about this team and the off season. So I'm excited to talk some Celtics basketball and get back into it. This is a fun team, Jim. There's a lot of talent here, and they're really good.
It sure is. And like we said, this is you're going to call it a hot foul. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Apple or wherever you get your podcasts. We're up on YouTube, so check us out there. And we'll pump this stuff out. And again, we're sorry for the pause, but we are back. And yeah, this is a fun team, Mike. And it's kind of unbelievable. And remarkable where this team is and where we thought they would be at the beginning of the season. I think we both, at the beginning of the season, the preseason, thought this was going to be a team that was going to be better than people expected, but not by this much. As we sit right now, they are second in offensive rating, 10th in defensive rating, second in point differential, second in just overall ratings. They are just really, this isn't a small sample size anymore. This is a really fun team and a good team without their best player and with guys just maximizing their potential, maximizing their talents, and giving us, I think I said it at the beginning of the season, I wanted to have a fun year. I just wanted to enjoy this team. And we're getting way more than that. Uh, you know, I don't know. I think that's a way to kick it off, but go ahead.
Think about their off season. I mean, their big signings were Garza and Minot, and we didn't know who those guys were. And then their draft was Hugo González and a couple second round draft picks, and really with no expectation for the second round draft picks, and really no expectations for Hugo. And you look at this team now, even going into the offseason, Jordan Walsh was a guy that we were talking about on this pod as, does he make the team? Should they cut him to open a roster spot to bring in a different player or trade him? And, even Baylor Shireman was a guy in the preseason. He can't play point guard. What is he going to offer? He's not a move shooter. He doesn't play well with the ball not in his hands. He can't defend. And we were wrong about all of it. We were wrong about every single guy. I mean, they have all developed. Baylor Shireman's defense last night against Milwaukee was fantastic on the ball defense. I mean, they just continue to get better. Jordan Walsh has been a story this year with his three-point shooting, but even more importantly, his rebounding and defense. Minot gave him something. And Hugo González looks like a guy that can develop into a starting NBA player. So, they hit home runs this offseason on minimum contracts, second-round draft picks, letting everybody go and trusting Nemias Queta, bringing in Luka Garza as a backup center. And, they're going to be competing for the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, it's really been remarkable. If you look up at the biggest free agent signing was actually Chris Boucher, who doesn't even play, and they're looking to trade right now. But outside of that, they've hit on everything, and it's just not guys they brought in this season. And you really nailed it. If you go position by position, Nemias Queta is absolutely exceeded all expectations. He looks like a guy that you could call a starting center on a contending team. He is right now, and he's performed like it, and he continues to get better. And they maximize him in his strengths. He's getting his weaknesses. He's working on and getting better. Last year, you got him in space defensively, and he just could not do anything. The paces would just kill him. They discovered that, and he never played again. He was slow getting out of screens. Now he's rolling and attacking the hoop and opening up the floor for the shooters. It's a great thing. Luka Garza, Luka Garza, Mazzulla benched for like 10 games in the middle of the first part of this season. And he comes back and he's actually now defensive rebounding. And, which is something I didn't think he could do.
And he gives you a lot on the offense.
Yeah, and well, we knew he could do that. You knew he could screen. You knew he could, but he was such a poor defensive rebounder they didn't play him. And he's come back and he's defensive rebounding adequate. Like he's not great, but he's adequate. And they've gone from like 25th in the league in November in defensive rebounding to like 15th in December, and they were 9th in January, which is a number I didn't think they'd ever get in any month. And then you mentioned the wings, and I actually think that's the biggest storyline of all this because you have guys like Shireman, Walsh, Hugo González, Josh Minot to a lesser extent, all on really small money deals, all very young. I know Shireman's an older second year player, but young in terms of being in the league and young in terms of what the Celtics need. And having those guys that now are NBA players and are going to continue to grow and get better. I still don't know what Hugo González's ceiling is. I think it's pretty high. I'm a huge Hugo guy. I want to see him continue to get more minutes. But it really changes the landscape on how you build this team. And I think my biggest takeaway is the management on this team from Brad Stevens to Joe Mazzulla is extraordinarily smart. They know how to find guys that fit their system, and then they know how to develop them to improve their play, both in the offseason and in the season. And I think we're very, very fortunate. This is supposed to be a down year. Sean Grandy put out a stat last night that, the Milwaukee Bucks lost their 5th in a row, 6th in a row, whatever. The Celtics haven't lost 5 in a row in 11 years.
Wow.
And this should have been a season where that happened. And yet here we are. And these guys are really just so impressive. And we didn't even mention Amari Williams, who looks like a guy that's going to be contributing here for quite a bit. It's really just been more than I could have asked for. A lot along the lines of like the Patriots this season. Just way more than I could have asked for. And it's been so much fun to watch. And we haven't even gotten to Jalen Brown, who's gonna be a second part of this. He's gonna get his own section of the pod all to himself. But it's been great. It's been fantastic, And even Anthony Simons, Mike, and then I'll give right back to you. Anthony Simons. He went like 6, 7 games where he didn't get a rebound, which is really hard to do. If you look at his stat line now, in almost every game he's getting a couple of rebounds. And that says to me a guy that's more engaged, that's buying into what they're asking him to do. And that makes a difference. It makes a difference when you guards and put in that effort to get there and be more involved. And it's just been really good.
Well, the players have responded. I mean, Simons was benched during the season this year. He had his minutes knocked down. Mazzulla wasn't trusting him. And Mazzulla's done that throughout this year with guys. Minot's being benched now. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts playing again at some point. Jordan Walsh got hot, and Shireman got his chance. And these players have really developed. And we go into next offseason, Brad's got another first-round pick and 2 more second-round picks. I look at this trade deadline, and part of me doesn't want him to trade him because of how well he is at identifying talent. And you talk about Jalen Brown. I mean, he's an NBA starter in the All-Star game now. We're talking about a possible first team All NBA at the end of the year.
I think as of now, he is that. I think if the
Yeah,
season ended today, he is that.
and I mean, he has really silenced the doubters in every aspect of his game, not just his scoring and his shooting, but his passing as well, and still defending the best player on the other team, and his leadership and guys responding to him. I mean, it really is his team right now, and they play really hard for him, and they play really connected, and these guys are playing with a lot of confidence, and um, Brown's definitely having the best season of his career, and he's taken another step, and it's only getting better. I mean, he's here, he's locked up. The Celtics are in a great place as a franchise right now.
Yeah, Brown, I mean, talk about raising up your game. I think we said at the beginning of the year, we know what he is. He's going to be great. This is better than I expected. Averaging almost 30 a game, and plus his assists are up. He's had a couple triple doubles in there. Um, he gets guys in a blender right now, and the way Mazzulla is orchestrating this offensively, where the guys are crashing the glass from the corners. He has, Queta screening. Both his centers are really good at setting screens and starting their actions. What is the name of the play that they run there, where they set they screen the ball and then they have someone screen the screener. I'm forgetting the name of it, but it really puts a lot of pressure on the offense and allows Jalen to get into space, and it really limits the double teams and traps that teams can throw on him. Because if they leave, they're leaving a guy like Sam Hauser, or they're leaving a guy like Peyton Pritchard or Anthony Simons and Derek White that can make you pay. So teams have to really pick and choose how they're going to defend him. And for the most part, we've consistently just seen one-on-one coverage, and there's no one, I don't think, in the league that can cover him one on one right now. And he's just making everybody pay. And he gets to the hoop. He's so goddamn strong that he's always getting his spot. I mean, how many busted lips has he given guys this year when he's going up for a shot? Um, and he feels like he's shooting less threes. I don't know if that actually computes the stats, but it feels that way, where
It
he's just
does.
getting in that mid-range game, or he's getting to the bucket and he's being dominant. And when help is sent, he's finding the right guy. So he's just been phenomenal, and his coach, I feel like, has really helped him with his lineups and the action they're running to get him going. It's like I said, it's just another thing that has been really really good. And Mazzulla, Mazzulla's been excellent, Mike. He's been excellent. We can maybe complain about rotation here, rotation there, but he knew what this team was, and he from the beginning of the year, even the style of defense they play, they're going to give up threes. They realize they have to give up something because they have limitations defensively, especially if Simon's out there or Gaza or whatever. They're going to have some limits defensively, so they decided we're going to give up threes. And what has happened? They uh they cause a lot of turnovers. Teams make a lot of kind of mistakes against them, and they're able to um, they're able to take advantage of it. So it,
Yeah,
it it's been pretty good.
yeah. I mean, the defense recently has been really good too. They held Milwaukee to 70 some odd points last night, and I
Milwaukee's
mean everything.
terrible.
Yeah, they are. Everything is coming up Celtics. So I mean, Porzingis,
Mike, I lost you there.
Horford.
Mike,
I'm saying everything's coming up Celtics.
yeah, it is. It
What?
is. You said something about Porzingis and Horford.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Porzingis has hardly played. Horford's played less than half the games. Drew Holiday's played well, but he's played less than half the games. The guys they replaced him with, in some ways, have outplayed them. And Simons has had a better season than Drew Holiday just because he's out there every day. I mean,
Yep.
Simons, you're talking about possible sixth man of the year. Luka Garza and Nemias Queta have been more reliable than Porzingis now Horford. And you could argue that Cornette's had a good season, but has it been that much better than these guys? And then the wings that they brought in with Hugo and Minot to take those Tatum minutes,
And Jordan
they're
Walsh
not.
and
And
Shireman.
Jordan
Yeah.
Walsh and Shireman. I mean, these guys aren't Jason Tatum, but
No.
it's great for when Jason Tatum comes back that they have this much depth in that with the way the stupid CBA is set up and it's impossible to make trades and impossible to sign guys. It is so important to have guys on cheap contracts that contribute. And there aren't a lot of teams that have that. And the Celtics are one of them.
Yeah, they the Danny Ainge flaw for him, there wasn't many, was that when they had that stretch with Tatum and Garnett, and they just didn't hit any draft picks at all after Garnett got here. And so they were constantly reaching to sign veteran free agents, and it really didn't work.
Yeah, Mikel
Jeff,
Petras, Marquise
yeah,
Daniels. Yep.
yeah, Jermaine O'Neal, Shaq, all that, and,
Mm-hmm.
and they just didn't get anything from the draft. This is completely different from that. They are getting quite a bit from the draft, and not just first rounders either. You know, Jordan Walsh is a second rounder, Mario Williams is a second rounder. They've also, Sam Hauser was undrafted, and Nemias Queta came over from the Kings. So they're
Yep.
finding these guys, and their scouting is really remarkable, and then their player development down in Maine, up in Maine, and then obviously within the Celtic system, it's got to be the best in the league. It really does. Maybe Sam Presti, you can say in Oklahoma City is as good a GM or better than Brad. But man, they are so smart and they've been doing it for so long. The bridge from Ainge to Stevens was seamless. The coaching changes have been seamless. They are just such a smart organization that I'm almost embarrassed about some of the criticism I've given, especially this off season. I wrote an article saying, there's a world in which Tatum does come back and you're wondering if you should have kept KP and Holiday. And we're saying maybe you keep KP until the trade deadline and he's playing better and you get more. They made every right move. And they're much smarter than us. I think I think that's fair to say right now.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know if they make those moves. If ownership says we don't care about the price tag, but Brad, given what he had, given what ownership wanted, he certainly made some good, really good moves. And that brings up, Jason Tatum has noticed this in the team too, to the point where he said, I don't know if it's best for me to come back this year, which I didn't like that comment. I always want to hear from my lead dog, kind of what Mazzulla said afterwards, that, yeah, he doesn't know what he's talking about. We're always better when Tatum's here. I'd rather that attitude. So I'm not sure where they are with Tatum, if he's going to come back. For a long time, we heard March, and then he said that. Kind of walked back his comments a little bit. Where do you see Tatum, Jim? How do you feel about those comments? Where do you think he's going to land this year or next year? What's going on?
Well, I think from what I read about an Achilles recovery, it's like you'll have moments where a lot happens pretty positively, and then you plateau, and then it's a really slow grind and build up. And so, like, I think maybe around December or January, things have probably escalated pretty quickly. And I wonder if he's hit a plateau in the recovery where he thought he might be a little bit further along than he is right now. And there's also got to be, as he gets closer to an actual return date and the reality sets in, I wonder, especially as a star athlete, he starts to wonder, how does this look if I come back this year? Am I playing 10 minutes to start? And do I go hang in the corner to get my legs under me? These guys are in NBA shape. I'm not. How does the build-up go? How do I do it without disrupting the team? When the reality of the day comes, he's not like the guy from Miami who returned for Achilles in 9 months as a role player. And so your role player, it's kind of more seamless to fit a guy in like that. He's a star player that's got to get up to March speed, the month of March speed, where these guys are now at a much different level than they were in December, much different level than they were in January, and they're building up for the playoffs. I think it's almost normal to have some self-doubt for him at that point. Like on how does this look? How does it work? And I thought Mazzulla's comments, and I also think Tatum's a sensitive guy, and I think he's an introspective guy, and he doesn't want to be the guy that screws things up. And you know, you could say you want him to be a different attitude, but I think he's just a good guy. And so this is, you know, from his upbringing, this is kind of how he reacts. And that's why I thought Missoula's comments are so interesting, where we'll make this work. And you heard that the night before from Sam Hauser. You've heard that from other teammates kind of say that similar since then. And it's you do wonder where he is. And so I guess where I land on it, Mike, is let's see in a couple of weeks how he's feeling, where he's progressing, and if they're going to make this work. I will say if he's not 100% in it, then it probably does just make sense to wait until next
Yeah, and
season.
that's why I was taken back because it didn't sound like they were all on the same page. Like they need to be communicating on the same page as far as what the plan is. And so, you know, whether what that looks like, however they're doing it. I mean, Tatum's going to all the games, so he's present, he's around.
Oh yeah.
So I assume that there's a mix-up in communication here as far as what the plan is.
Oh, I don't think so. You think I don't think it's that. I think they probably think it can potentially work if if he's mentally there. But I think they're gonna fall back to the player on that. I don't
Yeah, but
think it's
I'm
a
saying
communication thing. I think it's more of where he
if he
is thing.
if he's unsure of what the plan is, I'm going to be standing in the corner. I'm going to be coming off the bench. Like those are all things that he should know now.
I don't think that's an unsure thing. So I think I probably stated that wrong. I think that's the stuff that will happen. Like he's not going to come in and have his like just never mind the fact of getting integrated back into like playing like Jason Tatum. It's going to like being integrated to playing in the NBA at NBA speed and NBA shape. Like in the reality of that for anybody, that's going to be a little bit of a slow build up. Like I think I don't see him when maybe I'm wrong. You know, in fact, I even think he should probably go to Maine and play a week or two there. Like
He's not going to Maine.
yeah, and well, that's kind of, and so this is all the conversations they're probably having. Like because I do think like yeah, it's gonna be like 10, 15 minutes because you need to get in playing shape. You need to kind of, you know, get a feel and be a part of this. This isn't this isn't a guy that's coming in from a trade and has already been playing 30 minutes a night over in Milwaukee. This is a guy who hasn't played competitive basketball since May. And the reason he did it is because his Achilles snapped in half. So it's going to be a little bit of a slow build up. And I don't think fans quite understand that. How, you know, much of a grind that might be. But I think it's doable. I think it's doable if he can, you know, kind of accept that and see that. And I think that's what Missoula is trying to get across in his comments. So I don't think the plan's in question. I think in Tatum's mind is like, how does this really work if I do it this way? What will I get to a point where I'm helping this team this season? Do I hurt them if I'm trying to integrate myself by coming in slowly like this? And I think there's probably some self-doubt there.
Yeah, I mean those are things I think we're all thinking about, and
Yeah,
it's a real question. Like just for this year, are they better off with him not coming back? Is he able to play this style of basketball where Jalen Brown's the main guy and he's not? Now, he did do that in the NBA Finals against Dallas, but I also think he did that not out of choice, out of the fact that Brown was just playing better and Tatum's shot was off. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's an interesting. It's the most interesting story outside of the Patriots being in the Super Bowl in Boston sports. And it's going to be the most interesting story for the Celtics going forward, no matter how good they play, until we have an answer on what's going to happen with Jason Tatum. Because at the end of the season, if he does play, the conversation is going to be, were they better with him or without him for this 1 year? Because obviously next year they're better with him. But this year, it is fair to ask that of a star player like him coming off this injury. Are you able to come off the bench and play with Simons? Are you able to, play offense the way we're playing it? Because it's different. It's not the same style of offense we've played the last 5 or 6 years. And are you able to adjust to that, or is the team going to have to adjust to you? Because if you make them adjust to you, they will. And is what is best for this year, or is that better to wait until next offseason? It's a pretty fascinating story because this is a huge injury, and I don't know if a lot of people expected them to come back. I did from the start, but I didn't expect the team to be playing this good. So this is, to me, it's fascinating to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, I kind of look at it a couple different ways. Like, so I don't I don't think the team is currently constituted is going to win a championship. Maybe they make it to the Eastern Conference Finals and they get a couple breaks and they get in the NBA Finals. But if they get in the NBA Finals and play in OKC, like that's a huge mismatch. And
Yep.
the Celtics' weaknesses, which they're doing a really good job of hiding, whether it be defensive rebound, they pull a 3-point shooting defense, some individual defense where they can't really switch everything, will really be exposed.
Big
Yeah,
time.
so like
I mean, how do you
so
see this team beating Detroit? They can't right now.
well, Detroit maybe isn't ready for the moment. I could see it happening, but less so against some of these Western Conference teams. I still would make Detroit the favorite, but that's either here or there for me for this conversation. For this conversation, it's if Tatum feels like he can come back, the best thing for the team would have him integrate now. And look, if he's ever feeling like himself this season, if he ever becomes Jason Tatum again this season, I don't really foresee that happening. But if it did, he's not going to have to adjust the team. It will be an easy integration for the team to have a superstar top 5 player to add to their team, just like it would be any other NBA team. It would not be, that's not really a disruption. But I think if he's ready to feel like he comes back, it's better for this team just in the big picture as we look towards next year that he's getting run in now. And then he's going to just start a camp in the preseason and next year like any other guy. And so I think from that perspective, if he can do it and he's mentally there. If he's not mentally there, just wait till the preseason. Like this is to me, it's much more about where Jason Tatum is in the rehab. And from a traumatic injury like this, like a serious injury like this, it's both physical and mental. And superstars handle it all. There was conversation. Kevin Durant could have came back in the bubble, and he decided to wait. And then that probably benefited him. So these guys have to go through their own process and what's best for them. And usually they know. And so, however that works out, I just think it's much more of a Jason Tatum question on whether he comes back or not, to me, anyways, than it is whether, you know, how does this affect the team this year? I don't know if it really moves the needle all that much one way or the other.
All right. Well,
If that makes sense.
it does. And Celtics are in a tight race right now. They're in third place, tied record-wise with the New York Knicks. And then there's three other teams right there that are just a game back. So the Celtics are 5.5 out of first, while being a game out of sixth. It is it's gonna be a sprint to the finish here with teams trying to get the best seeding possible. As you look at the Knicks, the Celtics, the Cavs, the Knicks have won a bunch of games in a row. Toronto's starting to play well again. So it's going to be really interesting to see what the Celtics do on Thursday at the deadline for this sprint to the finish, to see if they're going to try to chase that 2 seed, because I do think it's a big deal to be in that 2 seed and get to play that team out of the play-in.
Yeah, for sure. And having court advantage of the second round, I think is, obviously a big help. Um, yeah, they're right there. They got as good a chance as anybody out east right now. They really do. I mean, the Pistons are the clear favorites, but, inexperienced in these big moments, and we'll see how it goes. The trade deadline is going to be obviously very, very interesting. The Giannis Trump card is out there, and what's going to happen there? Does he get moved now? Does he get moved in the summer? Does he stay in the Eastern Conference? Is he out playing for the Warriors? So that's the obviously huge domino here. And then the Celtics, what are they going to do? They're, we've laid out like the position they're in, and I think that you hear in the reports now that spending is not going to be what dictates this trade deadline. So shedding salary from Anthony Simons or Sam Hauser, which we all expected would happen at the deadline when the season began or before the deadline, really isn't the driving force anymore. So do they get aggressive and they look for a center that, is under contract that can be here and be a contributor? Do they look for another ball handler if they do have to move Simons for a center that can be here for a bit? So it's for them it's a pretty interesting time, with the deadline looming there on Thursday on how this is going to look.
Yeah, I haven't heard too many rumors that they're involved, and I know I was reading today Rob Williams, which I just found odd. I mean, he looked awful when he played against us the other night. He looked slow.
Oh, I thought he was pretty
Um,
good.
on the defensive end, I thought he was not. And he doesn't play much.
Yeah.
He misses tons of games. So I
Yeah.
I don't. What are you giving up to get him? He makes $12 million. I just to me that doesn't make sense. I don't know why you're adding. But we'll see. We'll see what I know. Zubac was a name that came up quite a bit, but now the Clippers are playing well, so I don't. I
If
don't
the
see him
Clippers were
being.
smart, they would stop making moves, but I don't think they got it. I think you're right. But I
Well, they
would
don't.
love
Yeah.
him. I'd love Zubac. I love Zubac.
I mean, yeah, I would love Zubac too. I would think you have to look at Daniel Gafford, but that's a guy who gets hurt a lot too.
Kind
Only
of
makes four.
redundant with Queta, don't you think?
He is. He is, but I mean, he's a veteran who's been to the NBA Finals, and he's a rim runner, and um, I think he might be a little bit more refined and trusted in the playoffs than Queta would be. Um, and he's inexpensive. He's only $14 million for
Hmm.
that position. Because there's not a lot out there. I don't think, Jim. When you
No,
look at
you,
bigs,
you heard you obviously Brooklyn's always going to be mentioned, so you heard Sharp and Nick Claxton as possibilities. There was that rumor out there from a pretty reputable source that the Celtics would love to find a way to get Jackson out of Memphis. I don't know how that works. I imagine it would have to involve Derek White.
yeah,
So
I have no interest in that.
yeah, so it's like you're hearing some names, how they
Do you
make these
realize
things work.
Jackson is one of the worst finishers at the rim in the entire NBA?
Is he really? I
One of
didn't
the
know that.
one of the worst. Yeah,
He's an
and he's
elite
always
defender, though.
he's driving the ball from the 3 point line. It's like three guys. Kind of reminds me of Angel Reese. Like I understand he's elite defensively, but for the amount of money and the what he would cost, I just think he wants to be something on offense he's never going to be, and I don't think he's a good fit here.
Yeah, I think I think maybe you can make it work with Tatum and Brown, but maybe you're right. I don't watch him enough. I do like Shop. to out there in Brooklyn, but he's kind of undersized. I'm not sure he's
He
exactly what they're
is.
looking for. I love Nick Claxton. I always have, and he's having a great season. I know you talked about his free throw shooting. I think he's close to 70% this year. He's improved
The
that
$30 million
drastically.
price tag, though, isn't he?
He's around 20.
It's around 20. Oh, that's
Yeah,
different.
20, 21, 22. Yeah, so um, he's a I think he would be fantastic with Tatum and Brown. But he has years on the contract, and
And if I'm
it can
Brooklyn,
turn.
why am I in a hurry to trade him when I have him and Michael Porter Jr.? I don't know if I am. Like, these are two guys that can be there while I continue to draft. I had 5 first-round draft picks last year. Some of
But
those guys are working out.
they're talking about moving Michael Porter Jr. too, so I don't know.
Oh, I
Yeah,
think that's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
I think that is. I don't know why he would want to leave that situation and why they wouldn't want him. But if they're looking to move Claxton, yeah, Brad should be all over that. I mean, I don't know about minimum salary centers that are out there that you can match to like a Chris Bouchard or a Xavier Tillman. I think all those guys come with flaws. Or you already have Luka Garza. I think a lot of those guys that get the minimum are like an Andre Drummond, who's only good at one thing, or like Marvin Bagley, who's only good on the offensive end. I don't think you find players
I
that
don't want
actually help
Marvin
you with what
Bagley.
you need. You just find guys who, it's like an Ennis Cantor type that would be coming in. It doesn't really help you.
Well, yeah, no, I don't want any player like that. I want a guy that you is under years on their contract. So I want multiple years, and I want a guy that fits with Tatum and Brown. And we know what those centers look like. And so one of the Celtics' biggest flaws right now, Kate is okay at it, but they're not great rim defenders. So that's part of the reason that they send so much help. They don't have great individual defenders at certain positions. They don't have great rim defenders, especially when Garza is in there. So that's why they send like 3, 4 guys to the paint when someone's driving and they're all scratching and clawing, trying to come up with turnovers. That's why the free throw differential is so drastically different because the Celtics do foul more. And you put in a guy like Claxton and Zubac back there, the type of prototypical Celtic center that you've seen over the years, and this thing looks dramatically different. The way they can do things defensively, even a bit offensively too. So it
About
has to
Miles
be
Turner.
no, maybe I don't know.
I mean, he had a great run up until the finals last year.
He's had one really really good season. I've never been a huge Miles Turner guy. Maybe he's really good at the rim. Um, I don't know what his contract is right now. They signed him for a decent amount. I know that. And I think it said something that Indiana made no effort to match it.
I think that might have been a mistake because Indiana doesn't have much talent to just let a guy walk, and it's not like free agents are dying to go to Indiana. Um, can you even name a center on the NBA roster of Indiana right now? Like,
Well, that's
I,
why it says a lot that they didn't make much of an effort. And
I think I
they're
think it
not a
might
dumb
say
organization.
I think in that sense, so it might say more about them than it does Turner because it's not like they have a plan to replace him.
Yeah, Turner isn't the type of guy I look at and like, oh, he hangs out at the 3 point line. Like, I don't think they need a center like that offensively. I think they need a guy that's going to roll, create space for Tatum and Brown, and create space for their shooters. I mean, I know Horford did that, but at the end, I didn't really consider him a center.
No,
And I know Porzingis did that, but Porzingis was way more skilled than Turner ever was, and he was also much better rolling off screens to the basket.
and
Maybe,
I think part of the Celtics challenge is that the teams that are bad in the NBA don't have that guy outside of Brooklyn and Nick Claxton, and that's going to be an expensive price tag to make work with Brooklyn. And
yeah,
because I would
you
assume
would have to trade Simons.
you yeah, you have to trade Simons, but they're probably going to want multiple first-round picks.
I think they might ask, but I think for Claxton, one first round pick might do the trick. I don't think he's worth more than that. I'd be surprised if they could get more than that for him.
Would you be upset if they didn't make a move and they kept their draft picks and they kept their assets?
No, because
I wouldn't either.
they're not in a spot where they have to. They could go into this in the offseason. I'm just saying if one presents itself, especially at that position, or, I think another ball handler or defensive guard isn't the worst thing in the world to improve this team. But no, they definitely don't have to. And I wouldn't be looking to move some of their lower salary guys unless it's someone that you like. If Zubac really was on the market and I had a pot with Jordan Walsh or someone like that as with draft picks as part of the move, I could do that. I mean, Zubac was, you could make an argument he should have been all NBA last year, like a real solid argument that he should have been all NBA last year.
Well,
That,
a guy who's
you know,
available because OKC needs to shed salary.
yeah, I don't believe that he's really
Hawkins,
available. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
I know. I mean, they've talked about it, right?
Mhm.
So that's interesting to hear that, and that's why this new CBA it's not new anymore. It's just so stupid.
Yeah.
It's so dumb.
Yeah, you
It makes it so hard to trade. Like if you're in the second apron, you can't aggregate salaries to make a trade. So okay, Cleveland can't do anything then. It's
yeah,
just dumb.
you hear, but Taze is potentially available for Orlando. There's several teams that um, are potentially making guys available because of what you just mentioned, the cap situation, the CBA. So yeah, it's pretty stupid.
And then these poison pill contracts.
But you wonder if those teams contending, if they would even call and consider trading with the Celtics.
I don't know. And it's a buyer's market. That's the other thing that the Celtics have to consider. Like, you don't have Tatum. How much are you giving up for this year? It really has to be for next year and the year after, any trade that you make. If you're
Yeah,
the Celtics.
I think so. I think that's 100% correct. Yeah.
And it takes away from like opportunities from movement in the league that excites people. Like,
Hmm.
Sacramento stinks, but there's guys on that team that could help other squads. Just watching that roster the other day, like, Sabonis would be a great fit in like Cleveland, where they have a defensive-minded power forward. Like trading Garland for Sabonis makes a lot of sense, but because Sabonis makes like $1 million more,
Yeah.
Cleveland can't aggregate salaries. That trade could never happen.
Well, take the honest trade. Like, if I guess Miami is saying Bam's off the table. Like, come on. But let's Bam or Karl Anthony Towns. If you're Milwaukee,
You don't want either one of them.
no, for that reason, because it's not like past seasons where you could just say, I could just send those guys off on my picks. With the CBA, it's hard to really find spots for them. And
Yeah.
so, why would you want either guy? And it makes you would probably say for the Knicks, I want Bridges and Anunoby packaged up, to be honest, with a bunch of picks. And the Knicks aren't really going to want to do that, maybe, or maybe they would, but I think it'd be something along those lines, and
Yeah, I'm
it
interested to
makes it
see
tough.
because it feels like wherever Giannis is going to go, it could just end up being Milwaukee 2.0
Mhm.
because of the players you have to give up. And you don't you only hear like the obvious all the time teams. Like you don't hear about other teams where it actually makes sense. Like the Atlanta Hawks probably make a lot of sense to trade for Giannis. They can aggregate contracts. They
Yeah,
have pieces that Milwaukee would want. They have draft picks. And if he's playing with Jalen Johnson and some of the other young guys on that team, like CJ McCollum's on that team now, if he's playing with those guys, like that's a contender. But instead, you only hear about like him going to Golden State. They're a contender for how long? 1 or 2 seasons? And they're giving up all their draft capital? Is that
yeah,
really, I don't know if that's the best move for Golden State.
And you have to look at games played nowadays, and like how many games do you really expect Giannis is going to play anymore? I mean, I know Milwaukee's made a ton of mistakes, but part of the reason they haven't done anything is because Giannis hasn't been available in the playoffs.
That's
Like
right.
a lot of this falls on Giannis's availability. Now you can't get angry at a guy for that, but that's just the reality of it, and he's not getting any younger. So that you have to think about that aspect too. And as it relates to the Celtics, where he lands matters. I mean, if it's going to the Knicks or it's going to Atlanta, if he's staying out east, obviously maybe that's gonna change some of the decision making the Celtics need to make in order to compete in the East. So that'll be interesting to watch and see. But
Jim, is there speaking of the trade deadline and the upcoming schedule for the Celtics, good
mhm.
way to end the pod. Is there a trade you want to see the Celtics make? And is there a trade in the NBA you want to see happen on Thursday?
Oh, I love to see Giannis move just because it's fun to talk about and where it ends up going. So that'd be interesting to me. Yeah, if it's a center, I think I touched on it, Mike. If it's Zubac or Claxton, I think Zubac's off the table, but it's something like that. I'd be really interested and excited for the Celtics if a move like that gets made. But either way, it's a great week. You're going to be going up to the deadline. On top of that, you got the Mavericks and the Rockets this week, and then you get the Knicks on Sunday for Super Bowl Sunday, and the Patriots play that evening. It's a great sports week. It's going to be a lot of fun. Cooper Flag tomorrow night in Dallas, and then Amy Adoka the following night, and then the Knicks on Sunday. That's just it's a good week. It's a really good week with the trade deadline just kind of squeezed in there.
And when I think about the Celtics and what they have to move, I'm looking, can Brad be creative? I mean, Sacramento's got a young center from Stanford that they drafted this year. Second round pick. He's been playing great. You have young wings. They've been open in Sacramento about talking about how they want wings at this trade deadline. Can you swing a Jordan Walsh or a Minot or a combination of two
Yeah.
to bring in a young, controllable center who's already established himself and you can develop more to be your backup center for the rest of the year and going forward? Um, you know, Something like that. Is there a young center out there where you got young wings and it makes sense for both teams? There's probably other teams I'm missing that I'm not even thinking about that have that guy that maybe the Celtics could be calling on.
Well, do the Celtics already have that guy in Amari Williams?
Oh, I know. I think this kid's better than Amari Williams in Sacramento. I think he's already a legit starting center in the NBA. So, I mean, he's like playing well enough to be first, second all rookie NBA right now. And he's younger than Amari Williams as
And why is
well.
he even available?
Well, he might be available because Sacramento needs wings. They need young wings. They don't have any. And that's the type of trade that might work. You have a team with a young big, that's good. You have a team with young wings who could be starter caliber players. And the Celtics, you would attach a draft pick to it, and that's what makes it work, right?
I
Maybe a
guess.
move like
Yeah.
that is something they could swing. Because you have to think that the value is high on some of the wings right now, especially with the way Jordan Walsh defends. And a move I'd like to see happen is I'd like to see the Hornets be buyers. I'd like to see them add a veteran wing that comes off their bench or look to move LaMelo Ball and bring somebody else in, because I think Miller and Connor Kneppel are two of the best young wings in the league. That team's won 6 in a row, and I do think those two are legit future perennial all-stars to build around. And, they're a game out of the play-in right now, and I think a natural next step for a team like that is to bring in a player that can score off the bench, to play with Colin Sexton. That Hornets team is fun, and they're finally healthy. And I do think they're really good. I think they're really talented, and I think this is the time for them to not try to get another draft pick and maybe add a little bit to what they're doing.
Yeah, I think they had the top point differential in the league in January, so they're really playing well. Yeah, I haven't given any thought to what the Hornets should do, though, so I really have nothing to add there.
Oh, did you see that game with Kneppel and Cooper Flag?
I saw the highlights. I didn't watch the game.
It's incredible.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Brandon Miller's got like 13 games in a row of over 20 points.
Did you see the Saturday Night Live joke about Flag being the um all-time leading individual game scorer? Well, he did it on February 1st, 49-point game for a teenager. And Michael Che said, "Not a great start to Black History Month."
Well, Cooper Flag's going to be a Celtic.
Maybe someday, who knows? Yeah.
I know his parents are huge Celtic fans.
Yeah. AJ Boyer is a huge Celtics fan too. So we'll Mike, let's try it. Maybe we can do a pod Thursday, and we can either do the aftermath of the deadline or maybe right before.
Yeah, who are they playing prior to that? I know they go into Dallas and then is it Houston? Is that what we got?
Yeah, back to back nights. So it's Dallas and Houston. So tomorrow it's the Texas two-step. They're at Dallas tomorrow night, and then at Houston, and then Knicks on Super Bowl Sunday.
So you go all in on Dallas, and then whoever you're resting, rest against Houston, right? Is that how you play it?
Yeah, they really haven't rested guys on back-to-backs all that much this year. So I mean, they're a fairly young team with young legs. The only guy that you would probably consider would either be White or Brown, and they really haven't done that. So,
hey, last thing, Jim, did you see the PED suspension
for Paul George? Yeah, I got the.
God.
Yeah, now that they're under the tax, funny how that
works.
What
a disaster he has been for that franchise.
I feel like Philadelphia fax the NBA the results and say, hey, maybe you want to suspend this guy. Get us under the tax.
Yeah, but the Celtics couldn't, get any breaks from Reggie Lewis died. But this guy does PEDs. Yeah. Philly's interesting. I mean, Joel Embiid suddenly playing 40 minutes and dropping 40. We'll see how long that is. Though.
I would trade him. You're not going to get his what he's playing so well right now. You're never going to get a better return than you're going to get at this moment going forward. If you're Philly, I would look to move him. I really would.
Yeah, I wonder if they can though.
Yeah, I wonder if they can. All right. Well, Mike, we'll get after this more often than obviously once every 2.5 months. So we'll hope to talk to everybody on Thursday and, go Celtics.
Yeah. And I just want to thank our listeners because you are out there and we do appreciate you. Jimmy and I love doing this pod. We started it during COVID as a way to hang out with each other. And after COVID, we both moved on opposite ends of the state. And it's just a way for us to connect. And I think it's good for both of us. And we love the Celtics. So the fact that you guys listen to it, it's a big deal. And I do apologize that we took a big break. But I'm excited to be back. This is a great, fun pod. We love talking Celtics. And we appreciate all of you. And I hope you all listen.
All right, guys. Take care.